We are in the final video on the term sheets that we have been talking about, venture capital term sheets. And we're going to talk about the information rights and board observers. You are 3 years post-funding and every month you spend 2 days preparing detailed reports for investors who rarely respond. Meanwhile, their board observer is sitting in every meeting. They're asking very insightful questions and they're taking notes. Information rights and observer seats seem harmless in term sheets, but they create ongoing operational overhead and oversight that many founders underestimate. So we're going to talk about that in more detail. Information rights and board observer provisions, they give investors ongoing access to company operational information, decision-making process, long after they have written their check. And these terms, they affect your day-to-day operations. They affect your strategic initiatives. You disclose strategic confidentiality. And also it takes management bandwidth. Understanding their scope and limitations is crucial for maintaining operational efficiency, which is why you have to give some thought to information rights. People often look at it and discard it, but you have to give it some thought, strategic thought. Information rights and observer rights, they create ongoing investor oversight beyond formal board representation. And there are standard information rights, by the way. It's a general requirement. You provide monthly financial statements, P&L, balance sheet, cash flow. You provide audited financial statements after a month close, a year close, up within a certain amount of time. You provide your annual budgets, your business plans, your rolling forecasts. You provide your quarterly board packages and the key metrics. And then there's your operational reporting. You provide your customer lists, your major contract terms, your trends, your employee headcount, your attrition. You present your major partnership agreements. You discuss any of the IP developments that you might be engaged in. And you also provide strategic information, acquisition opportunities that are being evaluated. Some of the new major product development initiatives that are being launched internally. Our discussion on the competitive landscape, how things are changing. Are there headwinds? Are there tailwinds? What about regulatory or legal issues? Discussing that, surfacing that in the board meetings. And the real world impact is that it becomes a burden to some extent. Each investor may require customized reports with different metrics, priorities, various formatting preferences, and separate confidentiality considerations. Okay? So now what happens is, you have the CFOs and the exec team spending a couple of weeks on investor reporting, and that becomes quite common. And you add the exec team time for questions and follow-ups. So you see, these are all stacking one over the other. So, and then you have the board observer rights. What observers can do, they will attend all the board meetings, by the way. They will receive all of the board materials and presentations. They'll participate in discussions, but they cannot really vote. And they have access to the same information as all of the other voting board members. They join the executive sessions in some cases. And so what does it mean? What does it mean? Every strategic discussion happens with investor oversight. Your board conversations are not private. These are not private management discussions, and with observer coming in, it kind of multiplies the problem. I'll tell you why. A Series A investor gets an observer right, a Series B investor gets observer right, a Series C investor gets observer right. Suddenly you have 3 to 5 non-voting participants in every board meeting, okay? So more overhead, more questions, more inquiries. Although it makes you be more cognizant about your business as an operator, it still is an overhead. There are strategic confidentiality issues, competitive information related issues. Investors often have portfolio companies in adjacent markets. Information rights can create conflicts of interest. Then there are M&A complications. Potential acquirers may be concerned about information sharing with competing investors. Then there are partnership negotiations that one has to consider. Partners may be reluctant to share sensitive information, knowing that there are multiple investors out there that have access to what you're presenting. So one of the things that you might want to negotiate from a founder perspective, limit the information scope. Keep it narrow, standard financial reporting, no sharing of the customer lists in great detail. Quarterly instead of monthly reporting. It reduces the burden significantly. Aggregated metrics instead of detailed breakdowns. Confidentiality restrictions for competitive information, you know. And I would also limit one observer maybe or two per investor. One observer per investor is better. And exclude observers from certain executive sessions. They don't need to be on all sessions. And restriction on observers from competing portfolio companies. That's a must. Have to make sure that happens. Limit the rights, the time-limited rights on the observers. Have them expire every 2 to 3 years. And reasonably accommodate them. Most investors accept monthly financial summaries. They will also accept quarterly detailed reports, annual strategic presentations, and access to audit financials. But there are tiers to information rights. Major investors, they want full information rights, including all of the details, all the detailed financial reports for all the board and the board observer seats, for the board observer seats. But the smaller investors, they get basic financial reporting and annual updates. So these are the operational best practices. Create some standard reporting for a larger minority, or larger majority, I'm sorry. But the high-end investors, you give them more detailed reports. Avoid custom reporting for each investor. Have automated distribution. Use investor portal software to streamline information sharing. Reduce manual email and data room management. And also ensure that there is confidentiality. There should be absolutely clear policies on what information gets shared with which investors. Separate reporting for investors with potential conflicts. And one of the common overreach that I've seen is that some investors, they request weekly operational metrics, employee performance reviews, customer satisfaction surveys, or detailed comparative analysis. And those happen when the company is not doing well. But if you're doing okay and you're starting to do well, you don't have to go according to that requirement. These go beyond standard information rights should be resisted. So one of the key things is that information rights and board observer seats, they create these ongoing relationships that extend far beyond the initial investment. They can be valuable for gaining investor support and expertise, but they also create operational overhead. And they also reduce the strategic confidentiality of the information that you're providing or sharing. The key is negotiating reasonable scope and establishing clear boundaries upfront. Standard financial reporting is totally acceptable, but resist the request for excessive operational detail or unlimited observer access. Remember, these rights typically last until exit, so terms that seem reasonable today need to work for the operational years of the company's growth and evolution. Information is very, very critical. It is a gold of the company. How you work on that information, how you distribute that information is just as well important. Again, like I said, some of the objectives of the board and the observer is to make sure that you're working properly, your operations are accurate, and you're managing or measuring metrics in the best manner possible that is most relevant to the context. They bring a world of experience. Learn from them. But again, ensure that they understand where the boundaries are. You as a company CEO, you as a company founder, you have the operational context. You are running the operations. You are setting the vision. And the board and the observers are there to give you feedback to refine your vision. Keep that in mind. And that is how you shape your information rights when you in your engagement with the board and with the observers. I hope these 8 videos have helped you, and it has covered some of the most important terms. And go back if you have any questions and look up those concepts and do your own research. The intent is not to give you a PhD thesis on every one of those. The intent is to create a little blurb on each of the key elements that you need to be aware of. And hopefully you'll keep that in mind when you read your next term sheet. So we will see you next week. Take care. Bye-bye.